Why are you still here? Ethan Miller heard his own voice crack on the last word, which was unfortunate, because there were moments in life when a man desperately needed dignity, and being half covered by a blanket while his older brother's best friend stood frozen in his bedroom doorway was definitely one of them. Ryan Carter didn't answer. He just stared. Not rudely. Not exactly. More like his brain had disconnected from the rest of his body and was currently filing an emergency report. Ethan's face burned. This was it. This was how he died. Not heroically. Not surrounded by loved ones at 87 after living a meaningful life. No. Ethan Miller, 23 years old, would simply combust from humiliation while Ryan, the man he had spent approximately 4 years pretending not to want, watched from 6 feet away. Ryan. Still nothing. Door. Ryan blinked. What? The door. You know, that rectangular wooden thing you just walked through without knocking. Ryan glanced behind himself as if Ethan might possibly be referring to another door. Oh, fantastic. Brilliant contribution. Ethan yanked the blanket higher against his chest. Could you maybe use it again? That finally seemed to wake Ryan up. His hand moved toward the doorknob. Ethan exhaled. Thank God. They would never discuss this. Ethan would change his name, move to another state, possibly join a monastery somewhere without Wi-Fi, and Ryan would develop a sudden, convenient case of amnesia. Perfect. Except Ryan's fingers stopped on the knob. He didn't leave. Ethan stared at him. Ryan stared back. And something in Ryan's expression changed. The shock was still there, but underneath it was something quieter. Heavier. Something Ethan absolutely did not have the emotional equipment to examine while his heart was attempting to punch its way through his ribs. Why are you still here? Ethan whispered. Ryan's jaw tightened. Then his eyes dropped for half a second before returning to Ethan's face. Because I need to know if you meant it. Everything inside Ethan stopped. The ceiling fan hummed overhead. A car passed somewhere outside. From downstairs, the refrigerator made its stupid little clicking noise like the universe had decided this was an excellent time to continue functioning normally. Ethan swallowed. Meant what? Ryan looked at him for one long, unbearable second. My name. Oh no. 3 hours earlier, Ethan had been having a perfectly normal evening. That was the lie he would later tell himself. It had started at dinner, with Jake talking too loudly about basketball, while Ethan concentrated very hard on his pasta and absolutely not on the man sitting across from him. Ryan Carter had been Jake's best friend since college. At 27, Ryan had somehow mastered the irritating art of looking good without appearing aware of it. Dark brown hair that never stayed where it was supposed to. Gray-blue eyes. Broad shoulders under a faded navy t-shirt. A tiny scar near his chin Ethan had once spent an embarrassing amount of time wondering about. Not that Ethan noticed these things. Obviously, he was merely observant. Painfully, catastrophically observant. Earth to Ethan. Ethan looked up. Jake was waving a fork at him. What? I asked if you wanted to come with us tonight. Where? Ryan's mouth twitched. Jake groaned. The game. The thing I've been talking about for 10 minutes. Oh. Ethan stabbed a piece of pasta. No, why not? Because spending 3 hours pressed into stadium seats beside Ryan, while pretending Ryan's forearms did not deserve their own national holiday, sounded psychologically irresponsible. I have work. Jake narrowed his eyes. On Saturday? I'm very dedicated. You work at a design studio. Art never sleeps. Ryan laughed. Just once. Low and warm. Ethan hated the immediate little flip his stomach performed. Traitor. Jake disappeared into the kitchen for another beer, leaving Ethan alone at the table with Ryan. Silence settled between them. Not awkward. Worse. Aware. Ethan kept his eyes on his plate. Ryan reached across the table. Ethan froze. 2 fingers brushed the collar of Ethan's shirt. There, Ryan murmured. Ethan forgot how lungs worked. Ryan pulled away, holding a tiny piece of lint between his fingers. You had something. Oh. Ryan smiled. Ethan's heartbeat became legally concerning. You okay? Perfect. You look red. I'm warm. It's 68 degrees. I'm experiencing a private climate event. Ryan laughed again, and this time Ethan risked looking at him. That was a mistake. Ryan was already watching him. The smile faded slowly from Ryan's face. For one strange second, neither moved. Something passed between them. Too quiet to name, too sharp to ignore. Then Jake came back. Ryan leaned away immediately. So quickly Ethan almost wondered whether he had imagined it. An hour later, The front door closed behind them. Ethan stood alone in the hallway, listening as Jake's car disappeared down the street. Silence. Finally, he went upstairs, shut his bedroom door, and leaned against it. His fingers touched the collar Ryan had fixed. This, Ethan informed the empty room, is getting pathetic. The empty room offered no disagreement. What Ethan didn't know was that Ryan Carter's phone was still sitting on the kitchen counter downstairs. And 12 minutes later, the front door quietly opened again. Ethan had exactly one rule when it came to Ryan Carter. Never let Ryan know how much power he had over him. It was a good rule. A mature rule. A rule Ethan had successfully maintained for years through Christmas dinners, summer barbecues, movie nights, and approximately 800 instances of Ryan casually existing within a 10-foot radius while looking offensively attractive. Tonight, however, the rule was experiencing technical difficulties. Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, staring at absolutely nothing. His fingers drifted to his collar again. Ryan had touched him there. Barely. 2 fingers. 3 seconds. Normal human interaction. Ethan dropped his hand. Get a grip. Silence. Seriously. Still nothing. His bedroom remained deeply unsupportive. Ethan stood and started gathering clothes from the floor, mostly because folding laundry seemed healthier than replaying Ryan's expression at dinner. That look. That stupid, impossible moment after Ryan had removed the lint. Ryan had been smiling. Then he wasn't. His eyes had stayed on Ethan's face just a little too long. And Ethan had felt it. Something. Which was ridiculous. Ryan was Ryan. Ryan had known Ethan since Ethan was 17 and painfully skinny, with braces and a haircut that should have resulted in criminal charges against the barber. Ryan was Jake's best friend. Practically family. That was the problem. At every holiday, Ryan was there. When Ethan graduated college, Ryan had shown up carrying flowers and a bottle of champagne. When Ethan got his first real job, Ryan had texted him before Jake remembered. When Ethan's car died last winter, Ryan drove 40 minutes through freezing rain to pick him up. None of that meant anything. Ryan was kind. That was all. Unfortunately, kindness looked dangerously attractive on him. Ethan threw a shirt into the laundry basket with unnecessary violence. His phone buzzed. Jake. Ryan says you were acting weird tonight, LOL. Ethan stared. His soul briefly left his body. Ethan, I was tired. 3 dots appeared. Jake. He asked if you were okay. Oh, that was worse. Ethan, tell him I'm fine. Jake, tell him yourself. Ethan threw the phone onto his bed like it had insulted his mother. No, the phone buzzed again. This time, Ryan's name appeared. Ryan, you okay? Ethan considered several possible responses. Fine. Yep. Leave me alone forever because your hands are ruining my life. He chose maturity. Ethan, yeah. Just tired. The reply came almost immediately. Ryan, sure? Ethan's chest did something inconvenient. Ethan, why wouldn't I be? A longer pause. Then, Ryan, no reason. Ethan narrowed his eyes. What did that mean? No reason was never no reason. No reason was the verbal equivalent of someone standing beside a freshly buried body holding a shovel. Before Ethan could answer, another message appeared. Ryan, get some sleep, Miller. Miller. Ryan always called Jake Miller. Ethan was usually Ethan. He read the message twice. Then 5 times. This is why you're single, he informed himself. He tossed the phone aside and fell backward onto the mattress. For a few minutes, he stared at the ceiling fan. Ryan's fingers at his collar. Ryan watching him. Ryan leaning away the second Jake returned. His mind assembled these details like a detective with absolutely no qualifications. Maybe Ryan had felt it too. No, absolutely not. Maybe stop. Ethan rolled onto his side and buried his face in the pillow. The worst part wasn't wanting Ryan. The worst part was hope. Wanting someone unavailable was manageable. You suffered quietly, made questionable playlists, and eventually developed emotional stability. Probably. But hope? Hope was dangerous. Hope turned eye contact into evidence. Kindness into flirting. A hand against your collar into something you replayed alone in your bedroom like an idiot. Ethan squeezed his eyes shut. He remembered Ryan at graduation, an arm around his shoulders. Ryan laughing beside him on the Miller family couch. Ryan quietly handing him coffee after Ethan's first brutal week at the studio. Tiny moments. Too many of them. His phone remained silent. Good. He needed distance. He needed sleep. He needed Ryan Carter to stop occupying approximately 90% of his available brain space. Ethan sat up. Shower. Excellent idea. Cold water. Reset. Become a functioning adult. He crossed the room, then stopped at his dresser mirror. His cheeks were still slightly pink. Pathetic. He pulled his shirt over his head and tossed it toward the laundry basket. Missed. Naturally. Downstairs, unheard beneath the rush of water starting in Ethan's bathroom, the front lock turned. Ryan stepped inside. Jake, he called quietly. No answer. He spotted his phone on the kitchen counter and exhaled. Idiot. Ryan picked it up. He could have left immediately. He should have. Instead, his gaze drifted toward the staircase. Toward the second floor. Toward Ethan's room. Ryan stood completely still. Then, against every rule he had spent years making for himself, he started upstairs. Ryan Carter knew going upstairs was a bad idea. He did it anyway. The hallway was dim, lit only by the warm spill of light from Ethan's half-open bedroom door. Somewhere behind it, water ran briefly, then stopped. Ryan slowed. This was stupid. He had his phone. Mission accomplished. Retrieve phone, leave house, meet Jake, watch game, consume overpriced beer, pretend Ethan Miller hadn't looked at him across the dinner table like that. Simple. Instead, Ryan was standing outside Ethan's room like a man preparing to commit an extremely specific form of emotional self-destruction. He raised his hand to knock, then heard Ethan's voice. Ryan. Ryan froze. It was quiet. Breathless. His name again. Ryan's pulse slammed once against his throat. No, absolutely not. He should leave. Immediately. He took one step backward. Something bumped inside the room. Damn it. Ryan reacted before thinking. He pushed the door open. Ethan used silence. Complete, catastrophic silence. Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, startled and flushed, a blanket dragged hastily across his lap. His shirt was gone. His hair was damp from the shower, falling messily across his forehead. Ryan stopped breathing. Ethan stopped existing. At least, that was Ethan's preferred interpretation. For 3 full seconds, neither man moved. Then Ethan made a noise somewhere between a gasp and the final cry of a wounded Victorian aristocrat. Jesus Christ. Ryan spun halfway toward the hallway. Sorry. Door. I heard something. So you broke in? The door was open. That is not a legal defense. Ryan should have left. Every functioning cell in his brain ordered him to leave. Then Ethan grabbed the blanket higher, and Ryan noticed the expression beneath the embarrassment. Fear. Not fear of Ryan. Fear of what Ryan now knew. That stopped him. Ethan stared at the floor. Please forget this happened. Ryan's hand tightened around the doorknob. He could do that. Or pretend to. It would probably be Kinder. But then Ryan remembered hearing his name. Not Jake's. Not someone else's. His. Ethan. No, you said my name. Ethan's head snapped up. I absolutely did not. Ryan blinked. I heard you. You heard incorrectly. I was 10 feet away. Acoustics are complicated. Despite himself, Ryan almost smiled. Ethan pointed furiously toward the hallway. Do not laugh. I'm not. Your mouth moved. My mouth does that sometimes. Get out. That erased the almost smile. Ryan straightened. Okay. He turned. 1 step. 2. Wait. Ryan stopped. Behind him, Ethan went completely still, apparently horrified by his own mouth. Ryan looked over his shoulder. Ethan closed his eyes. I didn't mean. Ryan waited. Ethan opened them again. Something fragile flickered there. Ryan turned fully toward him, but stayed near the door. Distance. He needed distance. For Ethan. For himself. You want me to leave? Ryan asked. Yes. Ryan nodded. Another pause. Ethan swallowed. I mean, Ryan's heartbeat became painfully loud. Ethan. What? If you want me gone, say it. I just did. No, Ryan's voice softened. You panicked. That's different. Ethan stared at him. Ryan hated how much he wanted to cross the room. He hated even more that this wasn't new. Months. Maybe longer. Every stupid rule he had made for himself existed because of this exact possibility. Never flirt. Never stare. Never stay alone with Ethan longer than necessary. And definitely never acknowledge the way Ethan's smile could dismantle Ryan's common sense in under 5 seconds. Ryan stayed beside the door. Tell me to go, he said. Ethan's fingers tightened around the blanket. His lips parted. Nothing came out. Ryan felt something inside him tilt dangerously. Why are you still here? Ethan whispered. There it was. The question from the doorway. Ryan looked at him. Really looked. At the flushed cheeks. Damp hair. Wide eyes trying desperately to hide behind irritation. He could lie. He probably should. Instead, Ryan let out a slow breath. Because I need to know if you meant it. Ethan went still. Meant what? Ryan's jaw tightened. My name. The silence changed. No longer empty. Charged. Ethan looked away first. I don't know what you think you heard. I know what I heard. Congratulations on your excellent hearing. Ethan. Stop saying my name like that. Ryan's breath caught. Like what? Ethan looked back at him. That was the mistake. Because whatever answer he had prepared disappeared the second their eyes met. Ryan saw it. Recognition. Want. And underneath both, hope. Ryan took one involuntary step forward. Ethan noticed. Neither of them breathed. Then headlights swept across the bedroom wall from the street below. Reality snapped back into place. Jake. Ryan stopped. Ethan stared at him. Ryan stared back. And suddenly the most dangerous thing in the room wasn't what Ryan had accidentally walked in on. It was the fact that neither of them wanted him to leave. Was that really me you were thinking about? Ethan stared at Ryan like he had just asked him to explain quantum physics while the house burned down. No, the answer came too fast. Ryan's eyebrow lifted. Ethan tightened the blanket around himself. Why did your face do that? Do what? That judgmental eyebrow thing. I didn't do anything. You absolutely did. Your eyebrow called me a liar. Ryan's mouth twitched. Don't. I'm not laughing. You keep saying that while visibly preparing to laugh. I'm trying not to make this worse. Well, congratulations. Spectacular failure. Ethan wanted the floor to open. Actually, no. The floor led downstairs, where Jake might appear at any moment. He wanted a small, personalized black hole. Ryan remained near the doorway. That mattered. He hadn't moved closer since Ethan froze earlier. His shoulders were tense, one hand still wrapped around his phone, but he was giving Ethan space, which somehow made everything worse. If Ryan had teased him, Ethan could have gotten angry. If Ryan had looked disgusted, Ethan could have hated him. Instead, Ryan was being careful, gentle, unfairly gentle. Ethan, please stop saying my name. Why? Because you saying it is half the problem. Ethan wisely kept that thought inside his skull. Because I'm currently considering changing it. To what? I don't know. Something untraceable. Ryan finally laughed. Soft. Barely there. Ethan pointed at him. See? Sorry. No, you're not. No, Ryan's smile disappeared. I'm not sorry I came back. The room changed. Ethan lowered his hand. Ryan looked directly at him. No joke now. No escape hatch. Tell me the truth, Ryan said. Ethan's stomach dropped. You first. Ryan blinked. About what? Why you care? Silence. There. For the first time all night, Ryan looked uncomfortable. Ethan noticed immediately. Interesting. Terrifying, but interesting. Ryan glanced toward the hallway. Ethan gave a humorless laugh. Oh, now you want to leave. That's not what I'm doing. Then what are you doing? Trying not to make a mistake. The words landed harder than Ethan expected. His chest tightened. Of course. A mistake. That made sense. Ethan looked away. Right. Ryan frowned. That's not what I meant. You don't have to explain. Ethan. I said you don't have to. He hated the sudden sting behind his ribs. Embarrassment, he could survive. Rejection after accidentally exposing himself emotionally. Apparently, that came with complementary organ failure. Ryan took one step forward. Ethan immediately looked at him. Ryan stopped. Can I come closer? The question caught Ethan completely off guard. What? I'm asking. Ryan's voice was quiet now. Steady. Ethan swallowed. One nod. Ryan crossed half the distance and stopped again, leaving several feet between them. Not touching. Not crowding. Just closer. You are not the mistake, Ryan said. Ethan's heartbeat stumbled. The situation is complicated. Because of Jake. Ryan's jaw shifted. Yes. Of course it was Jake. Jake, who trusted Ryan enough to hand him a spare house key. Jake, who called Ryan family. Jake, who would probably react extremely normally to discovering his best friend had feelings for his little brother. Meaning homicide. Possibly arson. Definitely yelling. Ethan rubbed a hand over his face. This is insane. I know. You're my brother's best friend. I'm aware. He'll kill you. Probably. He'll kill me too. Ryan considered that. No. He likes you more. Despite everything, Ethan laughed. It escaped before he could stop it. Ryan smiled. And there it was again. That softness. That impossible warmth Ethan had spent years misreading because believing it meant anything felt too dangerous. Ethan's laughter faded. So what now? Ryan didn't answer immediately. His eyes dropped briefly toward Ethan's hand gripping the blanket, then returned firmly to his face. Now you tell me what you want. Ethan's throat tightened. What if I don't know? Then nothing happens. Simple. No pressure. No disappointment. Ryan took a small step backward. We talk tomorrow. Or never. Your choice. Something inside Ethan twisted. Ryan was giving him exactly what he had demanded 10 minutes earlier. An exit. And suddenly Ethan hated it. Ryan turned toward the door. Ryan. He stopped. Ethan's pulse hammered. This was stupid. Dangerous. Potentially friendship-destroying. But hope had already gotten inside. And hope, Ethan was discovering, was an absolute menace. Don't go. Ryan slowly turned around. Neither spoke. Ethan forced himself to hold Ryan's gaze. Then Ryan asked, very softly, Do you mean that? Ethan swallowed. This time, he didn't hide behind a joke. Yes. Ryan stayed. Ryan stayed. For several seconds, that was all either of them seemed capable of processing. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed with his heart performing increasingly illegal activities inside his chest, while Ryan stood several feet away, looking like a man who had just discovered gravity was optional. You're staring, Ethan said. Ryan blinked. Sorry. You keep saying sorry. I've had a complicated evening. You? Ryan actually smiled. Ethan hated how much that helped. The room settled into a strange quiet. Not comfortable exactly, but no longer catastrophic. Ryan leaned against the dresser, deliberately keeping distance between them. Ethan noticed. Of course he noticed. Tonight his brain had apparently become a forensic laboratory dedicated entirely to Ryan Carter. Finally, Ethan cleared his throat. So, this is horrifying. Little bit. Ethan glared. Ryan lifted both hands. For both of us. That does not improve it. No, another silence. Ethan studied him. There was something Ryan wasn't saying. You said this was complicated. Ryan's expression changed. There. Ethan leaned forward slightly. What did you mean? Ryan rubbed the back of his neck. You really want to do this tonight? You walked into my bedroom, discovered something I planned to take to my grave, refused to leave, and then basically admitted there's something happening here. I did not basically admit anything. Ethan stared. Ryan sighed. Fine. Victory. Terrifying victory. Ryan looked toward the window. I made rules. Ethan frowned. What? For myself. That sounds healthy and not ominous at all. Ethan. Sorry. Panic humor. Ryan exhaled through his nose. First rule, don't flirt with you. Ethan stopped smiling. Ryan continued. Second, don't find excuses to be alone with you. Ethan's stomach flipped. Third, Ryan hesitated. What? Ryan looked at him. Never do anything that would make Jake regret trusting me. That one landed differently. Ethan's chest tightened. How long? Ryan didn't pretend not to understand. A while. That is not a measurement. Months. Ethan stared. How many months? Does it matter? Yes. Ryan's jaw tightened. Since last summer. Ethan's brain promptly crashed. Last summer. Beach weekend. Jake's birthday. Ryan teaching Ethan how to paddleboard and holding his waist when Ethan nearly fell. Oh God. You've liked me since July? Ryan looked deeply annoyed with the universe. Apparently. And you never said anything? You're Jake's brother. I'm also an adult. I know. You say that like you're trying to convince yourself. Ryan went quiet. Ethan's heartbeat slowed into something heavier. You still think of me as a kid? No, the answer was immediate. Sharp. Ryan pushed away from the dresser before catching himself. No, he repeated more quietly. That's exactly the problem. Ethan forgot his next sentence. Ryan looked away. When you were 17. Sure. You were Jake's annoying little brother who ate all the pizza and cheated at Mario Kart. I did not cheat. You unplugged my controller. Tactical innovation. Ryan laughed once. Then his expression softened. But you're not 17 anymore. The humor disappeared. Ethan felt suddenly exposed in an entirely different way. When did that change? Ryan looked at him. I don't know. Ryan. I don't. He paused. Maybe when you came back after college. Maybe when you started arguing with me about books you hadn't finished. Maybe when you brought me coffee that morning after my dad went into the hospital. Ethan's breath caught. You remember that? Ryan gave him a strange look. Of course I remember. Ethan had almost forgotten. Ryan hadn't. Something warm and frightening opened behind Ethan's ribs. So you avoided me? Yes. Because you wanted me. Ryan closed his eyes briefly. Ethan couldn't help it. A laugh escaped him. Ryan opened his eyes. You're enjoying this. A little. This is why I made rules. Your rules suck. They worked. Ethan gestured around the room. Strong evidence to the contrary. Ryan laughed. Real laughter this time. Ethan smiled despite himself. Then the laughter faded. Their eyes met. The air changed again. Closer somehow, despite neither moving. Ethan swallowed. What happens to the rules now? Ryan's gaze held his. I don't know. You broke 2 already. Ryan frowned. You're alone with me. 1. You flirted. I did not. That eyebrow thing earlier was absolutely flirting. That is not a thing. It was aggressive eyebrow flirting. Ryan shook his head, smiling. Then Ethan said softly, what about the 3rd? Ryan stopped. The question stayed between them. Jake. Trust. Family. Everything that could break. Ryan's expression became serious. That one, he said quietly, is the reason I'm scared. Ethan's smile disappeared. For the first time that night, he understood. Ryan wasn't afraid of wanting him. Ryan was afraid of what wanting him might cost. And somehow, that made Ethan want him even more. There's something on my phone you probably shouldn't see. Ethan stared at Ryan. Well, that is an absolutely horrifying sentence. Ryan immediately looked regretful. I phrased that badly. You think. It's not weird. People only say it's not weird, immediately before revealing something incredibly weird. Ryan rubbed a hand over his face. Ethan almost smiled. Almost. The tension from their conversation still hung between them, warm and fragile. Ryan had admitted wanting him. Not jokingly. Not accidentally. For months. Ethan was still trying to fit that information inside his skull without causing permanent structural damage. Ryan unlocked his phone. What are you doing? Showing you. I was mostly kidding. I know. Ryan crossed the room, then stopped beside the bed. Can I sit? That tiny question did something unfair to Ethan's chest. He nodded. Ryan sat beside him, leaving enough space that their knees didn't touch. Barely. Ethan became painfully aware of those 2 inches. Ryan opened his photos. Scrolled. Stopped. Then handed Ethan the phone. It was a picture of him. Ethan blinked. He was asleep on the Miller family couch, curled sideways beneath an ugly plaid blanket, hair flattened against one cheek. One sock was missing. He looked terrible. This is your dark secret. Ryan groaned. I knew this was a mistake. I look dead. You were asleep. I look recently deceased. Ryan reached for the phone. Ethan pulled it away. Nope. Evidence has entered discovery. Ethan, why do you have this? Ryan went quiet. Ethan looked closer. The date sat at the top. November. His teasing faded. He remembered that night. Jake had called Ethan around 9, saying Ryan's father had been rushed to the hospital after collapsing at home. Ryan had spent 14 hours there. When Jake finally brought him back to the Miller house, Ryan barely spoke. Ethan had made coffee. Terrible coffee, apparently, because Ryan had taken one sip and looked personally betrayed. Ethan had stayed anyway. No advice. No forced optimism. Just company. They watched some terrible documentary until Ethan fell asleep. You saved this. Ryan stared at his hands. Jake took it. I figured you weren't hiding behind the curtains with a camera. Very comforting. Ryan. A pause. He sent it to me. Why? Because I told him you fell asleep halfway through the movie, and he thought it was funny. Ethan looked at the photograph again. Why save it? Ryan didn't answer. Ethan turned toward him. Ryan. Ryan exhaled slowly. Because that night sucked. The humor vanished completely. My dad was in surgery. Nobody knew what was going to happen. Jake kept trying to tell me everything would be fine. He was trying to help. I know. Ryan's voice softened. But I didn't want someone telling me it would be fine. I wanted someone to understand that maybe it wouldn't. Ethan remembered sitting beside him. Ryan staring at the television without seeing it. I didn't do anything. You stayed. 2 words. Quiet. Simple. They hit Ethan harder than they should have. Ryan looked at the photograph. You didn't ask questions. You didn't tell me to be positive. You made the worst coffee I've ever consumed and sat beside me for 5 hours. My coffee is not that bad. It tasted like burnt tires. This emotional confession is becoming hostile. Ryan smiled. Then the smile faded. I saved the picture because when I looked at it later, I remembered that night wasn't only terrible. Ethan stopped breathing normally. Ryan's shoulder was close now, warm through the thin fabric of his shirt. Neither moved away. So that's when you started liking me? I don't know. Ryan looked at him. Maybe that's when I stopped being able to pretend I didn't. Ethan's throat tightened. This was worse than attraction. Attraction could be explained. Ryan was hot. Ethan was weak. Science. This had roots. Ethan handed the phone back carefully. Their fingers brushed. Both froze. Ryan's eyes dropped to Ethan's hand, then lifted. The air tightened. Ethan. His name sounded different now. Not teasing. Not careful. Almost vulnerable. Ethan's heart kicked. He leaned forward before courage could file an objection. Ryan didn't move. Didn't close the distance. He waited. Ethan understood. His choice. So Ethan moved another inch closer. Then, a car door slammed outside. Both men froze. Keys rattled downstairs. Ryan's face drained of color. Ethan whispered, "Oh no." The front door opened. Jake's voice echoed through the house. "Ryan? You here?" Ethan and Ryan stared at each other. Footsteps entered the hallway below. Ethan's heart tried to escape through his throat. Ryan stood. Too fast. The warmth between them vanished instantly. And Ethan discovered something far more terrifying than being caught wanting Ryan. Watching Ryan pretend he didn't want Ethan back. "Ryan, why are your shoes here?" Jake's voice traveled up the stairs. Ethan looked at Ryan. Ryan looked at Ethan. Neither man appeared to have developed a survival strategy. Ryan finally whispered, "I came back for my phone." "That explains the shoes." "Yes. It does not explain why you're in my bedroom." "I noticed." Jake called again. "Ryan." Ryan stepped toward the door. Ethan's stomach dropped. 5 minutes ago, he had wanted Ryan out of this room more than he had ever wanted anything. Now watching him leave felt strangely awful. Ryan paused at the doorway. Their eyes met. Something silent passed between them. Then Ryan went downstairs. Ethan remained frozen for approximately 4 seconds before realizing he was still shirtless. Excellent. He grabbed the nearest t-shirt, put it on backward, swore, corrected it, then crept into the hallway. Voices drifted from the kitchen. Ethan stopped halfway down the stairs. Jake stood by the counter holding a six-pack. Ryan leaned against the refrigerator. Normal. Completely normal. Disturbingly normal. "There you are," Jake said. "Thought you got murdered." "Forgot my phone." Ryan lifted it. Jake stared at him. "And then what?" "Took a guided tour of my house." Ryan didn't even blink. "Bathroom." Ethan nearly choked. Jake shrugged. "Ready?" "Yeah." "That was it." "Yeah." One word. "Casual." Easy. Like Ryan hadn't been sitting inches from Ethan upstairs. Like he hadn't admitted saving Ethan's picture. Like he hadn't looked at Ethan as if one more inch might change everything. Ethan hated how quickly disappointment replaced panic. Ridiculous. What did he expect Ryan to do? "Hello, Jake. Sorry I'm late. I was upstairs emotionally confessing to your younger brother after accidentally walking in on him thinking about me." That would go beautifully. Probably right before the ambulance arrived. Ethan stepped into the kitchen. Jake glanced over. There he is. Still tired. "What? You look weird." "I always look weird." "Fair. Brotherly love." Ryan looked at Ethan. Only briefly. Then away. That tiny retreat hurt more than it should have. Jake grabbed his jacket. "Come on." Ryan didn't move. "Actually, I might head home." Jake frowned. "You came back here just to bail?" "Long day. You were fine 10 minutes ago." Ryan's jaw tightened. Ethan stared at the floor. "Say something." "Don't say something. Please look at me. Please don't make this obvious." His brain had become a committee run entirely by idiots. Jake studied Ryan. "You good?" "Yeah." There it was again. "Yeah." Ethan suddenly couldn't stand the kitchen. "I'm going upstairs." Jake waved dismissively. "Night, drama queen." Ethan turned. "Ethan." Ryan's voice stopped him. He looked back. Ryan held his gaze this time. "Good night." 2 syllables. Nothing suspicious. Nothing Jake could interpret. But Ethan heard what lived underneath them. "I remember. This happened. You didn't imagine it." "Night," Ethan said. He went upstairs. His bedroom felt different when he returned. Ryan's absence seemed to occupy actual physical space. Ethan sat on the bed. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Downstairs, muffled voices continued. He couldn't understand the words. Eventually the front door opened. Closed. Silence. Ethan stared at his phone. No messages. Of course. Ryan had rules. Ryan had Jake. Ryan had 27 years of common sense. Ethan had apparently developed the emotional stability of wet tissue paper. He lay back. This is good, he told the ceiling. Ryan leaving was good. Responsible. Healthy. Absolutely miserable. His phone buzzed. Ethan grabbed it so fast he nearly dropped it. Ryan, you awake? Ethan stared at the screen. Ethan, no. 3 dots appeared. Ryan. Impressive texting for an unconscious person. Despite himself, Ethan smiled. Ethan, what do you want? The typing bubble appeared. Disappeared. Returned. Finally. Ryan, I didn't want to act like that downstairs. Ethan's smile faded. Ethan, like what? Ryan, like nothing happened. A pause. Then another message. Ryan, I just didn't know what I was allowed to say. Ethan sat up. His fingers hovered. Ethan, you could have looked at me. This time Ryan answered immediately. Ryan, I was afraid if I did, Jake would know. Ethan's heart kicked painfully. Before he could respond, footsteps sounded outside his bedroom. Jake. Ethan locked his phone instinctively. 3 knocks. The door opened. Jake leaned against the frame. Hey. Ethan tried to look innocent. Historically, he was terrible at this. What? Jake studied him. Then his eyes narrowed. Did something happen between you and Ryan? Ethan's soul quietly packed a suitcase and left the country. Did something happen between you and Ryan? Ethan stared at Jake. No, again, too fast. Apparently tonight, Ethan had lost access to every believable lie in the English language. Jake's eyes narrowed. Why did you answer like you're being interrogated? I didn't. You did. I'm naturally suspicious. You're naturally terrible at lying. Ethan pulled his blanket higher, despite now being fully dressed. It felt protective, emotionally bulletproof. Hopefully. Jake stepped into the room. Ethan's phone buzzed beside his leg. Both brothers looked down. Ethan moved first, flipping it face down. Jake's eyebrows rose. Oh, that wasn't suspicious at all. It's private. Is it Ryan? No, then show me. Absolutely not. Jake stared. Ethan stared back. A horrible realization slowly appeared on Jake's face. Oh my God. Ethan's heart stopped. Jake pointed at him. You're seeing someone. Ethan almost laughed from relief. What? You are. I'm not. Who is he? Nobody. Jake grinned. It's a guy. Ethan rubbed his face. This conversation had somehow driven directly past disaster and into a different disaster. Go away. Is that why you've been weird? Jake. Do I know him? Ethan nearly died a second time. No, the lie tasted terrible. Jake studied him, then surprisingly backed off. Fine. Ethan blinked. Fine. You're 23. You don't have to tell me. That should have helped. It didn't. Jake walked toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, whoever he is, Ethan waited. Jake shrugged. Make sure he isn't embarrassed to choose you. The words hit with surgical precision. Jake left. The door clicked shut. Ethan stared after him. His phone buzzed again. Ryan, everything okay? Ethan typed. Ethan, he thinks I'm seeing someone. Ryan, are you? Ethan stared at that for several seconds. Ethan, apparently, I'm waiting to find out. No answer. 5 seconds. 10. Then, Ryan, come downstairs. Ethan frowned. Ethan, why? Ryan, please. Ethan's stomach tightened. He opened his door. Voices. Jake's. And Ryan's. Ryan hadn't left. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. Ethan moved toward the stairs. Halfway down, he stopped. Ryan stood in the living room, facing Jake. Jake had his arms crossed. Neither had noticed Ethan. Ryan looked terrified. Not walking on your crush terrified. Real terrified. I need to tell you something, Ryan said. Jake frowned. That sentence never ends well. Ryan exhaled. It's about Ethan. Every molecule in Ethan's body screamed. He almost ran downstairs. Almost stopped Ryan. But then Ryan continued. I don't see him as a kid. Silence. Jake's face changed. Slowly. Oh. Ryan didn't look away. I haven't for a while. Ryan. I know. You're my best friend. I know. That's my brother. I definitely know. Jake paced once across the room. Ethan remained frozen on the staircase. You did something? Ryan's expression sharpened. Nothing he didn't choose. Ethan's chest tightened. Ryan could have explained the bedroom. He could have defended himself with Ethan's embarrassment. He didn't. Jake stared at him. Does Ethan know? Ryan paused. He does now. Jake laughed once, without humor. Jesus Christ. I'm not asking permission. That made Jake look up. Ryan swallowed. But I am telling you because I refuse to make him a secret. Ethan stopped breathing. There it was. Jake's words from minutes ago. Make sure he isn't embarrassed to choose you. Ryan hadn't heard them. He didn't need to. Jake's anger visibly struggled against something else. Recognition, maybe. How long? Months. And you never told me? I was trying not to feel it. Jake almost smiled. That work out. Ryan glanced toward the stairs. Straight at Ethan. No, Jake followed his gaze. His eyes landed on Ethan. Silence. Oh, come on, Ethan muttered. Jake closed his eyes. You were listening? In my defense, you're both extremely loud. Ryan looked mortified. Ethan came downstairs. Jake pointed between them. So this is happening. Ethan stopped beside Ryan. Not touching. Close enough to feel his warmth. He looked at Ryan. Ryan looked back. For once, neither hid. I think, Ethan said slowly. We're figuring that out. Jake groaned toward the ceiling. I hate this. Noted, Ryan said. I especially hate you. Also noted. Jake grabbed his jacket. I need air before I commit a felony. The front door slammed behind him. Silence returned. Ethan looked at Ryan. You told him. Ryan nodded. You could have waited. I could have. You could have pretended nothing happened. Ryan stepped closer, stopping just short of touching him. I already tried that. His voice dropped. I hated it. Ethan's heart stumbled. Ryan held his gaze. I'm scared of losing Jake. A pause. But I'm more scared you'll think I'm ashamed of wanting you. Something inside Ethan broke open. Softly. Completely. He reached out. Not for a kiss. Not yet. He simply took Ryan's hand. Ryan's fingers closed around his. And neither of them let go. 3 nights later, Ryan Carter stood outside Ethan's bedroom door and knocked. Ethan stared at the door, then at the ceiling, then back at the door. You have got to be kidding me. Another knock. 3 soft taps. Careful. Patient. Completely different from the door swinging open 3 nights earlier and permanently destroying Ethan's ability to experience embarrassment at normal human levels. Come in, Ethan called. Silence. Ryan didn't enter. Ethan frowned. He opened the door. Ryan stood in the hallway wearing jeans, a charcoal sweater, and an expression that suggested he had rehearsed this moment in his car approximately 47 times. Hi. Ethan leaned against the frame. Hi. Ryan glanced past him, then back. You said come in. I did. I wanted to make sure. Something warm moved through Ethan's chest. Of course he did. 3 days had passed since Jake discovered everything. 3 extremely strange days. Jake had progressed through what Ethan privately called the 5 stages of older brother emotional collapse. Denial. Threats. Aggressive refrigerator opening. More threats. And finally, reluctant acceptance. Sort of. That afternoon Jake had cornered Ethan in the kitchen. You actually like him? Yes. Like, voluntarily? Ethan had stared. What is wrong with you? I'm checking. You've been friends with him for 9 years. Exactly. I know things. What things? Jake had gone pale. Never mind. Then he walked away muttering something about betrayal. Progress. Now Ryan stood outside Ethan's room. Still waiting. Ethan stepped aside. Ryan entered. This time because Ethan invited him. That difference felt enormous. Ryan stopped near the dresser. Ethan almost laughed. You know there are other locations in this room. I like the dresser. You're afraid of the bed. Ryan looked offended. I am not afraid of furniture. You've been staring at it like it has a criminal record. Ryan sighed. Ethan smiled. There it was. The familiar rhythm. Teasing. Deflection. Anything except acknowledging the electricity humming quietly beneath Ethan's skin. Ryan looked at him. The smile faded. Jake talked to me. Oh. He threatened to remove several important organs. Classic Jake. He also said, Ryan hesitated. What? That if I hurt you, he'll make sure nobody finds the body. Ethan considered this. Honestly, that's basically his blessing. Ryan laughed. Then quiet returned. Not awkward. Not anymore. Ryan stepped closer. Only 1 step. Ethan's heartbeat changed anyway. I meant what I said, Ryan murmured. Which part? All of it. The saved photograph. The rules. The months of avoidance. The fear. Ethan swallowed. I meant it too. Ryan's eyes softened. When you asked me to stay? Yes. Another step. Still no touching. Ryan always stopped before touching. Ethan understood now. He wasn't hesitating because he didn't want Ethan. He was waiting because he did. Because wanting wasn't permission. Ethan closed the remaining distance himself. Their hands brushed. Ryan's fingers curled slowly around his. Warm. Steady. Ethan looked down. This is weird. Ryan smiled. Holding hands. No. You being nervous. I'm not nervous. Your thumb has been rubbing the same spot on my hand for 30 seconds. Ryan stopped immediately. Ethan laughed. Caught you. Ryan's ears turned slightly red. That discovery was delightful. Ethan moved closer. Their shoulders touched. Then their foreheads. Ryan exhaled. Soft. Warm against Ethan's cheek. Ethan. There was that voice again. The one that made his name feel like something worth keeping. Yes. Ryan didn't move. Can I kiss you? Ethan's heart nearly folded in half. 3 nights ago, Ryan had walked through a door without asking. Tonight, he was asking for everything. Ethan smiled. Yes. The kiss was gentle. Almost ridiculously gentle. No fireworks. No dramatic soundtrack. Just Ryan's hand rising carefully to Ethan's jaw and Ethan gripping the front of Ryan's sweater because apparently knees were optional now. When they separated, Ryan stayed close. Ethan opened his eyes. Ryan was smiling. Not the teasing smile. Something softer. Something Ethan had apparently been missing for months. Wow, Ethan whispered. Ryan's eyebrow lifted. Ethan pointed immediately. There. That. What? The eyebrow flirting. Ryan laughed against Ethan's forehead. It's still not a thing. It absolutely is. Ryan kissed him again. Shorter this time. Ethan smiled into it. Then Ryan pulled back. I should probably go. Ethan stared. Ryan's expression fell. Unless. Ethan walked to the door. Ryan watched, confused. Ethan opened it wider. For one terrible second, Ryan looked like he thought Ethan was throwing him out. Instead, Ethan leaned against the frame. You stayed the first time. Ryan went still. Ethan held his gaze. That first night had been an accident. This wasn't. I'm asking you to stay this time. Ryan's expression softened completely. You sure? Ethan smiled. Yeah. Ryan crossed the room. This time there was no panic. No humiliation. No pretending. Ethan closed the door behind him. And for once, Ryan didn't need a reason not to leave.